All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're turning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Be sure to check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. You're starting sessions with a new client who is 5 years old. During the first session, every time you approach the client, they move away and avoid eye contact. The client appears interested in blocks in the corner of the room. What should be your primary focus during this initial session based on this information? As the technician, when you're first meeting a client, what are you always trying to establish with both the client and the stakeholders at home? You want to establish rapport. Rapport is that good relationship, that good understanding you develop between you and the client so that they'll start to comply with you and engage with you. If you have a client who moves away from you, avoids eye contact when you try to approach, that's going to make it very challenging to get anything accomplished. Think about when you show up at a house. You want the client to be excited that you're there. And if they're not excited, at least they're not running away. So if you notice that they are moving away from you on this first session and they like blocks, well, what is the obvious thing to do in order to build rapport? A, gather baseline data using a DTT procedure established by the treatment plan. What you don't want to do is try to force an intervention or a baseline onto a client who's not ready yet to comply. You may be causing more issues and creating bigger problems by trying to force things than actually going through the rapport building process. B, continue delivering SDs until the client begins complying with your request. Again, we can't brute force our way into getting this client to comply with us, especially as they get older, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and on. It becomes harder and harder to just walk in and tell somebody what to do. C, begin pairing yourself with the client with client preferred activities. Yeah. Start pairing yourself with the blocks. Maybe go play with the blocks, try to get them engaged with the blocks, see what they're engaged in, pair yourself, and establish yourself as this reinforcing presence, right? That's the entire idea of rapport. D, remove all demands and only engage the client if they engage you. So you want to be careful about this because while you're building rapport, you also want to be establishing what we would call stimulus control or instructional control. And if the client isn't going to engage you, well, you're not just going to sit there and do nothing. So you've got to be proactive. So D, in certain situations, might be what you're instructed to do. But based on this information, you want to begin pairing yourself with client preferred activities. It's just the better answer. The client consistently engages in disruptive behavior during transitions between activities. The supervisor has determined that the behavior is maintained by escape from demands. What antecedent intervention would be most appropriate to implement before the transition occurs? It's an easy question as long as we focus on the key word here. And the key word here is antecedent. Remember, we have A, B, C, antecedent, behavior, consequence. Antecedent happens when? Before that behavior. So if we have an antecedent intervention, we want to do something prior to the behavior. The behavior is disruption. So we're trying to do something proactive and preventative before disruption happens. What is going to be appropriate? A, provide a warning that the transition is coming. Sure. If we warn before the transition actually occurs, we're warning before that behavior actually happens, right? If our SD is transition, then the behavior happens. If we do the warning somewhere over here, right, that's before this behavior. It's an antecedent. A looks pretty good. B, reduce demands if disruption is high that day. Well, B, we're reacting. It's a consequence. We're reacting to the behavior. Antecedent is proactive. C, increase difficulty of tasks as disruption is reduced. Again, we're reacting to which way that disruption is going. This way disruption is going up, we're changing what we're doing. This way disruption is going down, we're changing what we're doing. D, wait until disruption occurs and then provide correction. Once again, we're waiting for the behavior to happen before we do anything. With an antecedent intervention, we are doing something prior to the behavior that is preventative, right, or proactive. So we'll provide a warning that the transition is coming. That is the best antecedent intervention here. You're implementing a token economy with a 9-year-old client who earns stars for completing tasks. The client has earned 9 out of 10 required stars to exchange for iPad time. Suddenly, the client throws all the materials and refuses to continue working. The client's mother, who is observing, suggests you give the client the iPad anyway, since they were so close to earning it and they've worked enough. What should you do? It can be a challenging situation as a technician when you get so close to, let's say, giving reinforcement or getting to a break, and the client then engages in behavior which can last forever or forever long, right? However long it might last. It's definitely on the more frustrating end. Especially in this case, the client has earned 9 out of 10 stars, and then you only need 1 more for iPad time, and now they don't want to work, right? So throwing materials, they refuse to continue working. Well, you know, being a good RBT, the worst thing you could do is let them out of break or let them out of work. Now, client's mother says, why don't you just give them the iPad? They were so close to earning it. They've worked enough. Just do it this once. As the RBT, what are we going to do? A, make an exception as the client is satiated on work. Maybe they are satiated on work. Maybe they're tired of work. But the treatment plan says we need 10 stars. We need to earn 10 stars. B, restarts the token board from 0 tokens. It's not what the token economy is, right? We're not restarting the token economy. We're going to work until we meet the required number of tokens and then give the backup reinforcer. C, ask the mother to please remove herself from the session. You don't have the authority as the RBT to do that. If the mother is there, what she is, that is a supervisor conversation if you believe it to be a problem. D, continue the treatment plan as written. Yep, we need to continue that treatment plan as written. There should be a behavior plan in place. There should be a plan for what to do in this situation. What we got to have to do is continue that treatment plan as written and not start making exceptions on a day-by-day basis. We want to be as consistent as possible. You're at a coffee shop studying for an exam when you run into an old friend. Your friend notices your behavior technician folder and asks what you do for work. You explain that you work with children with autism. Your friend then asks, oh, do you know the Smith family? Their son has autism, and I heard he goes to therapy. What is the most appropriate response? Now, we have several things that ensure we keep our clients and stakeholders' privacy, right? HIPAA being the legal reason we have to maintain privacy. And our ethics code also has stipulations we need to maintain privacy. We don't talk about our clients with anyone, right? Unless they're specifically on that client's team and have the right to that information. So even if someone says, well, I know the family, it doesn't matter. That's not your place to talk about them. So if you're at a coffee shop and someone is just asking you questions about what you do, and they say, well, I know somebody with autism, because these days, most people know somebody with autism. Well, I heard he goes to therapy. Are you his therapist? You do not want to give any information about who you work with, right? But we also can't lie, because ethically, as ABA practitioners, we've got to be truthful. So what do we do? A, confirm whether you work with that family since your friend already knows about them. For all you know, the friend doesn't really know them. He just knows of them. And that's definitely not going to be in the best interest of privacy. So we can't confirm if you work with this family. B, state you cannot confirm or deny whether anyone is a client due to confidentiality. And you can do this in a pleasant way, but you can say, I can't give you information about who I work with. My ethics code says so-and-so. My HIPAA says so-and-so. You can't give any information either way. C, say you don't know them, even if you do work with them. Well, you don't want to lie because as practitioners, we must remain truthful when it comes to ABA. D, change the subject without directly addressing the question. No, it's a good time to explain to this person that our ethics code says such and such, HIPAA says such and such. You can't give this information. That's what your role is as an RBT. And there's nothing wrong with that. So what you're going to do is not confirm or deny. You're just going to move on and say, I can't do it due to confidentiality reasons. According to the matching law, if a student receives reinforcement for math problems at a rate of 3 per minute and reinforcement for reading comprehension at a rate of 1 per minute, what would be the predicted allocation of responding? All right, you probably won't get a matching law question like this, but it's a good, I think, example of what matching law is. Remember, matching law says behavior will go where reinforcement is. So if we have 2 different reinforcement schedules, right? In this case, we are getting reinforcement about 4 times per minute. This reinforcement schedule is 3 every 4 minutes. This is 1 every 4 minutes, right? Where do you think, just common sense, the behavior is going to happen more? An A or B? Well, probably A. We're getting it at a higher rate, and so the behavior is going to contact reinforcement more in A. But it still has reinforcement for B, so occasionally it will go over there. Now, if we do basic math, this is going to be 75%. This will be 25%. So it follows that math will get 75% of responding, and reading will get 25%. And that's essentially what matching law is. Behavior goes to where reinforcement is. So if I can get reinforced 3 times per minute, my behavior is going to go towards that schedule more, but it also has reinforcement available for a different schedule. It's going to go there less, but still go there to get that reinforcement. And that's what matching law says. So a little more complex with the math and the ratios, but it's just a good example of what matching law looks like in practice. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout-out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.